Yeah.
Well, we're here
10
now,
hour.
baby.
I would love for 10 hour though.
Well, listen, this list is all about perspective. Like, you can literally have a completely different list knocking out with the exception of like I think the top four. I think everybody has those top four on. Maybe not. Actually, not even everybody has the top four we have on there. There's some
Yeah.
exceptions. But the number one's like the only one that I think on everybody's list that they make would be on there. I really
I
do
don't.
believe.
I think that's undisputed. I mean, I don't think he is. He
Yeah,
can't take.
like people gotta understand like this list too. It's we're doing top 10 bald athletes. So it's like, all right, well, like obviously they weren't always all of them weren't always bald. It's like, how do you actually remember them? You know, like we just said, like we talked about, like Kareem or Kobe. Like someone I talk to them, they remember them bald. The other person doesn't. You know,
Yeah.
like even the Derek Jeter, like Derek Jeter later in his career was bald, where he wasn't. I don't remember him bald, but later in his career he was. He was wearing a hat all the time or a helmet. You never noticed him
I
bald.
always remember Jeter with that little high top, but you're right though. We never knew when he actually went bald because he did always have that cap on.
Yeah, he always wore it. So you never knew. Yeah. There's a lot on here. A lot of guys that were talking about it. But let's get live. Let's get live because I want to eat. You ready to go?
You got enough. We ready to rock. Let's get it.
I'm ready. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the best motherfucking sports podcast in Pennsylvania. If you guys don't know what we are yet, well, welcome to the club. We are the Stoop Life Podcast. Now, today, I want to remind you all that all of this content that we get is on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube at Stoop Knockout. And most importantly, check us out on Facebook at the Facebook group, The Stoop Life, where all the magic starts and ends, where all the debates go, and then they come here. So check us out on Facebook at The Stoop Life because it's the best sports group we ever seen on Facebook, created by your man right there, PJ. And with all of your help, we're growing. So please help us grow, and we're going to keep bringing you content and fun stuff for you guys to talk shit about and argue with each other in a fun-loving sports way.
Fun-loving way, yes.
Exactly. No killing each other here like at Dino's in Philly. It's all fun. But yo, we like doing these type of episodes that we're going to do tonight because Paul came up with them a couple weeks ago, and we're kind of on a little bit of a binge doing them. And I want to remind you guys that we're not having a whole year to prep for these. We're not even having a month to prep for them. We're actually doing these like 2 days beforehand because we come up with ideas. And I want to let you know, so we're keeping it fresh. We're going as fans, and we might forget some things on the list that we do. So just bind with us. But that's the point of it. If we want to make the list perfect, then we're going to have to ask the Almighty up top what his list would be because he's the only one that knows. But today, we're talking about top bald athletes. Bald, baby. I know we got a lot of bald people in Stoop Life.
Yes, we do.
Shout out preps to you guys. And Paul, we got to tell them how we actually came up with this with this topic. Because I remember.
Listen, it's got to be, they have to be bald and doing something. You know what I mean? They can't just be bald sitting at the end of the bench.
Yeah.
They can't be bald, dropping passes, missing goals. They have to be doing shit with that bald head, putting numbers, breaking records, filling up arenas, knocking motherfuckers out as a bald.
Exactly. But I want to give you guys a little insight on how we came up with this subject. So me and Paul were having a conversation one day. I don't need to get into the full details, but I think I called him a little bitch, and he said, "At least I have my hairline still." I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, you know what?" I was like, "There's a lot of good fucking bald athletes, bro." So we're like, "Yo, that would be a good topic." I was like, "Dude, that would be a great topic. There's a lot of good bald athletes out there."
There is.
We're like, all right, well, let's make a top 10 list of it and do it on the podcast. Like, yo, all right, let's go. Now we put the post up in the group for a little bit to get some of your insights on who you think should be on the list. So it changed up a little bit of our list because, sometimes you guys thought somebody should be on the list that we shouldn't because of the criteria. So for the criteria for this list, we basically just said 1, were they bald? 2, how long were they bald for? And 3, do you remember them bald? And did they win bald? Because there's a lot of athletes that weren't bald their whole career and then were bald and then didn't do shit when they were bald. They're not counted. Later part of the career or retirement bald doesn't count. They had to be bald during the time that they were playing and when they achieved something. That's what made the list hard. What made it hard? Like, how do we differentiate some of them? So we actually have a top 10, and then we got an honorable mention. Now, I want to start it off, Paul, by telling everybody that number 1 on honorable mention is not on there because, well, technically he's not bald, even though he's bald. And we got LeBron James as the number 1 on the honorable mention. We all know this guy's bald, but he got hair plugs. So we couldn't put him on our list. So we wanted to put him on the list because that motherfucker is bald, but he's not on the list. Who are some guys that you have, Paul, that are on the top of your honorable mention list that we didn't put on here? Because there's a lot of them.
First and foremost, my man Jason Kidd. Where do I even I gotta bring him out there first because Jason Kidd did have hair at one point, but we all know when Jason Kidd was putting the league on watch when he was with the New York Mets, he was bald and it was very shiny. So I gotta start with J Kidd there. Who you got? Who else?
Let's stick with basketball since we're starting with basketball. Another guy that I remember being bald that could have easily made the list is Kevin Garnett.
Ooh,
Kevin Garnett had that shiny ass bald head.
Ticket? Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people forget how good he was because he was in Minnesota for the majority of his career. But I think if he would have left earlier, he would have been a lot higher on people's regard, the top players ever. Because that guy was a force to be reckoned with. So I got him on there. Another guy I want to throw out there is he's still playing right now, Chris Paul. I remember Chris Paul being bald his whole career except like the first season he played. Yeah, I feel like he was bald the rest of his career except for like the first couple years in New Orleans. But he's right there for my list. He didn't make it, but he could have been on some other people's list. What about you? You got anybody else from the NBA that we could have had on the list that you remember being bald?
The round down of rebound himself. We have to give a little special shout out to his Barkley. As terrible as the head looked, he was an animal.
He was, man. He's still. I love listening to him watch. He's still funny, man. He could be on there.
It's on my nerves, though.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of old heads would have him on there because they really like Charles Barkley. Let's switch sports up, though. I got another sport I want to ask you about. How do you feel about Brian Urlacher, your rival linebacker, not being on the list? Mm-hmm. I was on the verge of putting him on my list there, but the only reason I didn't put him on is because he's got hair now. So it's kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, he cheated. Yeah. It's like the fucker leaves Chicago, retires, and gets hair. Like, it's different. I'm okay with him being honorable mention because there's a lot more bald athletes that were a lot better in their sports than he was. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer for a reason. He gave my team headaches for 15 years. So I got a lot of respect for him, but I also have a lot of bitterness towards him because he did make my life hell for a second. For a good 2 seasons, they were the best team in that division, and it hurt my life. It was led by him, so I can't. They went to the fucking Super Bowl and again played in Indianapolis. I'm sitting there like, how the hell did they get there? But Brian Urlacher is a major part of that, and he's one of the best middle linebackers to ever play the game. Tackling machine leader. He was an athlete. Don't let him get the ball in his hands. He'll take off. You would think he's a receiver. So, hell of a player.
I know you mentioned one earlier. That's ball that we don't have on the list.
Jason Taylor.
Yeah. That got good on there.
See, I love those early Dolphins teams. With Patrick Surtain, Zach Thomas, Ricky Williams, guys like that. But Jason Taylor is in the Hall of Fame for a reason. The sack machine. He was kind of like that hybrid. He wasn't the strongest guy, but he was 6'6". He knew how to use every limb he had. He had fast hands. He took off the ball fat. He was getting off. When he got off the ball, he was already beating. He was so fast.
I love Taylor.
Absolutely. And yo, shout out to his sister because we all love his sister.
Whoa. It's a family show. But no, we got another guy that we completely forgot about, which honestly I still don't think he would make the list, but we forgot about him late. Chad Ochocinco. Talk about a guy. So, like, how did I forget he was bald? Like, I forgot he was bald.
Same way, man. How do we forget about Ocho? It's no disrespect. That's why we're talking about him now. Man, Ocho, I don't think I ever seen Ocho with hair until he had that little like mohawk thing, and that was dyed. He had to dye his hair to get that. So, man, Chad is. I think he was bald as a rookie.
It's like it's weird because like I don't remember like his head. I just remember what he did, and that's one sport. Like football players, like football, baseball and hockey. They all wear shit on their heads. They wore helmets and hats, and so it's kind of hard to remember them for being bald. You remember their stats that they played. So that's one thing. But speaking of baseball, I want to make it known that this guy would be on the list for Philadelphia fans, but he wasn't bald the majority of his career. Yet I completely forgot he wasn't bald his whole career because I remember him, towards the end. I'm talking about Jimmy Rollins from Philly. Like he was bald too, but
listen,
he wasn't bald when we won.
This is why we're gonna speak about him now. J-Roll was bald when we got that ring. It counts. It counts in my opinion.
It was.
And he won a golden ring.
That's why I remembered him being bald. I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. He did have cornrows when I was growing up, and he won the MVP.
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, that's right. He was great. Another guy we didn't really remember as I don't remember him as being bald either. Mariano Rivera, probably the best closer of all time. He was bald the last couple of years of his career.
You know why though? Because he wears a fitted cap when he pitches. I mean, baseball players get a little pass sometimes, man, because they know how to cover it up.
There's one thing I don't remember him for his hair. I remember him for the best walkout ever. Like
that's
for a baseball player, like he used to come out, the Hell's Bells come out, you knew the game was over. Like you ain't winning.
It was money up until he played Boston in 2004, but it was money.
That's true. I'm gonna talk about another sport too. Another guy that I absolutely hate this guy, but one of the best players ever, and he was bald. And it was hard leaving this guy off the list for me because I think he's one of probably in his sport the best bald guy. And he might be like top 5, top 10 in his sport in general. But I'm not really a fan of that sport much. I'm talking about hockey. I'm talking about Mark Messier. Like he was bald his whole career.
Mark Messier will knock your fucking head off. He's we forget these guys are bald because he's wearing that hockey helmet with that face mask.
Yeah.
I would have put him on there. I would have, honestly. But
I mean, when you see the list, you'll be like, all right. We got the list here. I didn't know who to take out and put in. We had him and another guy on the list, and then you guys in the group were talking about 2 other guys, so we switched them back on. So we took Messier off of the list because of you guys. But fair, I can't disagree with you guys, but Messier's not on there. Now we got 3 guys that we also had on the list, but we took them off because they were like 7, 8, 9, give or take. We got 2 soccer players. We got Tim Howard, who's probably one of the best goalie ever. Like I remember, I used to use him in the video game because you couldn't score on the guy.
Very underrated. I remember. You remember back when the World Cup was? I think was it 12 or was it 16?
It was the 14 one.
The 14 one, yeah. And how like vocal he was for that group, like.
He was unbelievable.
Us USA teams are not known for soccer. Let's be real. But Tim Howard was a freak of an athlete.
I remember when I was growing up, like soccer was actually cool because they did the World Cup. It was actually fun because like you had the video games. Same with hockey.
Yeah.
Like, you knew the players because of the video games. Now I don't know any of them because we're getting older. I don't play it as much. And Tim Howard's one guy I do remember. Speaking of the World Cup stuff, this guy might be my second. He's my second favorite soccer player of all time. He's not on the list because he got voted out by the group. But this guy, he's top 5, top 8 soccer player of all time. I'm talking about Zinedine Zidane. Now, one thing I remember this guy for, let me ask you. Do you remember watching the World Cup, the same World Cup Tim Howard was talking about, when he headbutted the referee?
Yeah. Oh, I used to have Remember when ESPN had magazines?
Yeah,
That was the front of the magazine, and I remember being like, "Ooh, I gotta have it," just because it's like clear. He stopped. He really stopped and was just like, "Bam!"
He fucked that ref up. He hit him square in the chest. Like, oh man, he got banned. I don't think he was allowed to play in like the World Cup for like 15, 16.
He was banned for like I think he was banned for
Yeah, I mean, but him talk about great players. The problem is like people don't realize how good these soccer players are, and we're not really a soccer group, really. But he's a guy that could have been on there. And what about the next guy? We got one of the most decorated champions in all of sports. No, I'm not talking about Joey Chestnut. I'm talking about the best.
The Glizzy God.
Yeah, I'm talking about the best surfer of all time, Kelly Slater. Like, they made a video game off guy surfing.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Yo, how fun was that video game, first and foremost? Back in the day when it came out with Kelly Slater surfing.
I couldn't do it.
It was popping. It was so cool. Like, he was the face of surfing.
He was.
I mean, extreme sports, you thought of Tony Hawk and you thought of Kelly Slater. Right off the bat. Those are the first two guys. When it comes to those kind of sports, Kelly Slater, absolutely. We have to give a shout out to him.
Yeah, Kelly Slater, man. Look at him. We got like 11 surfing world champions. Think about that. That's one time a year. We won 11 straight. That's pretty crazy. Now, I don't know if I feel like surfing takes more of balance than technically. I guess that's athleticism. I don't know. I feel like if you put him in other sports, it wouldn't have been like as good. But for him to do what he did in that specific area, pretty phenomenal. I wonder what the second number is.
I would take Kelly Slater over BJ Penn any day. All right.
I mean, speaking of BJ Penn, he's also very bald. He was called the prodigy, but he didn't get he didn't fulfill his prodigy. He didn't fulfill it.
He didn't.
Speaking of fighters, so in MMA, who's the number one guy we left off the list from MMA? Because a lot of people don't think athletes as MMA players.
Right off the bat. When I think of a bald fighter, and you're probably gonna look at me like, wow, Tito Ortiz. When I think of a bald MMA fighter, it's Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, me too.
How can you not think of anybody else first?
Yeah, that's true. Everybody knows Tito. A lot of people actually watch it for Tito.
Yeah,
he was good, but whatever. I mean, guy I thought we left off was Mighty Mouse. Who I think in our opinion, how we break it down, I think he's one of the MMA goats, like one of them. So I think he could have been on there. Another guy that is currently fighting, I think at the end of his career, if we redo this 5 years from now, I think Kamaru Usman and maybe even Alexander Volkanovski will be on there. But I think Kamaru will definitely be on there.
Especially if he goes up and wins 55. Yeah, we'll be talking about him in the next 10 years.
I love Volkanovski, but I think he's beatable. I think if you get him to the ground, he's questionable. Ortega almost got him.
Yeah, he did.
You can't get Kamaru to the ground, and you can't beat him standing up. So, unless he moves up to, 2 weight divisions, I really don't see him losing. So I think he's going to be on there. He's awesome. It hurts me to give him props in the division because of GSP, but he's a freak of nature, man.
He's a beast, man. I enjoy watching him. He got better every single fight he's been in. I've seen nothing but progress.
Yeah, I agree. So that's the honorable mention for you guys. Just to give you guys an idea of who's not on the list. So now we're going to start from number 10. And number 10 is a guy that we've been talking a lot about in our group the last couple of months. And we actually did a debate with this guy. That's why he's on the list. Because you don't think about wrestling without thinking about this guy. And yes, I'm talking about WWE. So everybody get the fuck up and go crack a cold one. Because number 10 is Stone fucking Cold Steve Austin. Now,
start with this one, man. Let's just look at him.
This guy had to be on the list. He's a fucking athlete. There's a lot of people out there, wrestling's fake, this and that. Yeah, it's scripted. But 90% of the stuff these guys do is unbelievable. We can't even do that to each other. think about it, he's picking up Andre the Giant. Like people can't even pick up their dogs. This guy's picking up a human being that's twice his size. That's fucking crazy, bro.
Come on, man.
He's hell of an athlete.
Arguably one of the best wrestlers ever. Arguably. Yeah, it's never going to be a full-on, like, even though in the debate, Taker did take it. He did win it. Yeah. But Steve Austin's always going to be one of the most iconic athletes from WWE.
Yeah, absolutely.
He created the Attitude Era is the Attitude Era because of Stone.
It really is. You know, he left a lasting impact on wrestling that our generation still sees today. You know, yeah, you know, he might not be the best, quote unquote, but he's definitely got to be the most recognizable, the most well-known, what people know. You know, a lot of people look around like he still has action figures out. He wrestled once in the last 5 years, 10 years maybe.
He came back. He came back for WrestleMania.
And so, I mean, like,
yeah. But I mean, you know, as for our youth, if we weren't telling people to suck it, we were throwing that finger up.
Yeah. Cracking the beer.
How many times did you stun him against
Yeah, I mean, he was phenomenal. I still Stone Cold Stunner motherfuckers.
I do to my daughter. Believe it or not, my daughters have been stunnered quite a few times. It's just part of the game.
Gotta be. Someone disrespects you, stunner. Now, number nine on the list. This guy is still an active player. I actually believe he is one of two active players on our list still. One of the two active athletes on our list. The reason being he's still active on the list is he's goddamn good. He actually, this week, made the All-Star game for the MLB. He actually, this week as well.
The first ever DH.
Yep. And he also is joining in the home run derby. We're talking about the man, the myth, legend, the machine.
Albert Pujols.
Albert fucking Pujols. Now, like, the thing that this guy is still playing baseball, and I think he's probably 10 years older than what he says, is phenomenal. Like,
you might be right, though. You might be right.
I mean, like, yo, I saw a stat on him the other day. Him and Miguel Cabrera are the only players in baseball history to have over 500 home runs, over 2,500 hits, over it was like 2,000 runs and a 300 batting average. Like, that's how good this guy is. Like, people forget about this guy because he had a bad year or two in between hitting 30 home runs, 100 RBIs for 11 years straight to start his career. Think about it. They forget about him because he went over to LA, he took the money, and he kept getting hurt. This guy's unbelievable. He's probably, in my honesty, one of my top 5 favorite players of this era. Like, I love Albert Pujols because every time that motherfucker came up, you knew he was probably going to get a hit.
He's business. He was all business. Very likable guy. He was a World Series champion, MVP, Rookie of the Year. He was at World Series, NLCS MVP too.
Philly killed the Phillies, man.
No, tell me about it. I mean, to be able to hit 684 dingers in your life.
The crazy thing is too, he's right on pace to break the record for all-time games played. So I think he's like right there. I think he's number 3 right now.
Yeah,
he's not that far off. So speaking of games played, we got this guy coming up next that holds the record for most consecutive games played. And actually, a lot of experts believe that this guy that record will never be broken. Like, he played so many games straight that, like, you can't even watch that many games without, like, you just didn't turn them all on. So we're talking about the Iron Man himself, Cal fucking Ripken. I love this guy, too. This guy was the epitome of baseball. He represented it well.
This is Brett Favre of baseball, right? I don't think people understand that. Like, this man, 19-time All-Star. He's been an AL MVP, Golden Glove winner. He's done it all. I mean, he's still sitting at 431 home runs. I mean, he's the epitome of a baseball player, in my opinion.
Consistency.
One thing I loved about Cal Ripken was how he switched his stance every time he was in the batter's box. And he would do some freak shit. He would do some freak shit in the batter's box where he used to put the bat on his shoulder and play the flute. Boom! He's a Maryland guy, so he played for his hometown team.
Yeah, he was almost on his end, when we were growing up. So when we were there, we were kind of like, I remember growing up, and I'm like, what's this streak? Like, who cares? But he played 2,632 games straight. And I'm like, okay, is that good? He's 500 some above number 2 place, which was also back then, which was Lou Gehrig. I'm trying to look up the closest active player to him, and I can't find any. The closest active player to him is not in the top 50, and that's at about 432 games. So think about that. Think about that, guys. He played 2,632 games straight. The next closest guy that's active is below 400 straight games. I can't even find it. So how many? 2,632. That's almost 15 seasons straight. 15 seasons straight. Like, how do you not get hurt? How do you not have a sick day or a day that you want to take off, don't play, and you put up those numbers every day? And I don't know about you. If I went to the gym that many days straight, I wouldn't be able to walk. Like, I'd be sore as fuck. Like, 15 years straight. Think about it. Like, a major league sport, a baseball game. I'm talking about you're doing your warm-ups. You're doing your fielding. You're doing that basic. You're doing that every day and then going out and playing a game. Like, that's like going to the gym every day for 15 years straight. Whatever, you might get a day off, but technically the baseball game, you're doing all those stuff. You're 3-4 hours workout. Unbelievable. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. And I want to let you take the reins on the next guy we got here because it's your boy. And he makes because of a reason. So who do we
this
got?
man right here is somebody I consider the greatest football player of all time. Yeah. The greatest. I had the honor to represent him in the debate. I did it well, I would say. We're talking about the one and only Jerry Rice.
Look at Jerry. Look at Jerry with the stick of love song.
Oh, here we go.
Man, Jerry Rice is unbelievable. Actually, Jerry Rice had a stat. Yeah, a quote come out yesterday, and he said he believes that if he played in today's game, his stats would be doubled. And I actually agree with it because we broke it down on the podcast. You were talking about it, his, the catches on average, and then we looked at it like the top guys this year. He was almost over half of what, like a little over half of what the top guys were getting. He was getting 81 targets a year, where Cooper got over 300.
Yeah, that's because he always got open, man.
Yeah, now, guys, the reason Jerry Rice is number 7 and not in the top 3 is because the majority of Jerry Rice's career was not bald. But I remember him as being bald too. I don't remember him really with the dreadlocks in Oakland. And also, people from the group wanted Jerry Rice on the list, and he won a championship as bald Jerry, and he broke a lot of his records as bald Jerry. So that
1994, he was bald, and he won a ring at that time. So he deserves to be on the all-time greatest receiver. So.
Yeah, there's not much we have to say about Jerry Rice. Everybody knows Jerry Rice. Everybody. One thing about Jerry Rice I do want to say, I wish he would have got into coaching. I wish he would have been, or a general manager, kind of like what Elway did, because he knows the game, man. He knows the game.
He's involved in the Yes.
Yeah, but not huge. I mean, I wish someone like him would have been shaping, teams in the league now instead of some of these guys that I mean, it's weird. You never see a guy like Jerry Rice as a wide receiver that becomes a coach. They're always linebackers or linemen, defensive linemen. They become the coaches. He probably knows just as much about the game as them. I think he would do a phenomenal job.
Absolutely.
So I wish he would have done that. Deion's coaching in college. I would have liked to see him do that as well because imagine what he could teach kids, not only about the game but about life that comes with the game to these guys. That's the one thing that kills a lot of these athletes, and I think he would be able to help them with that. But on the field, guy was a freak. No pun intended to your debate. He's unbelievable. I take him on my team any day of the week. Now, next up, we got a guy who, believe it or not, has one of the top selling shoes in the entire world. Did you know that?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
He's a smart man. Very smart man. He's a very smart man. And people are crying about him right now, too. People are bitching about him because we didn't mention him yet. So, you want to do the honors?
Yeah, so number 6, we got the guy, big man himself. You know, we got Superman, Big Diesel at number 6. Yeah. One thing I want to knock about Shaq is this. I wish he wasn't lazy. Like, if he was never lazy and played at 100% his whole career, number 1 player ever. Like, would have been the most dominant guy ever.
Who's going to stop Shaq?
No one. Like, no one.
He's the most unstoppable basketball player I've seen with my eyes.
Yeah, like, I'm trying to think about, like, in what era would have stopped him. Like, everybody likes to say, oh, Wilt was better. But Wilt wasn't, like, the shit Shaq did. Like, the aggressiveness, I don't know, like, if Wilt would have held that. These centers nowadays, no way. No way. Even in his era, like, I think he knew he was so much better than them that he just had to go out there and play 50%, and he was getting 30 and 12. But he easily could have got 30 rebounds a night, too.
Oh, absolutely. And hell of a defender. Listen, don't go down the alley on the big man. Don't ever think you're going to go down the alley by yourself on the big man. He's going to either squash a shot or he's going to throw a body at you. You're going to be scared after that. So, Shaq Diesel is
unbelievable. He's a movie star, too. He was in one of the worst movies on record.
But the one thing we got to give Shaq, though, how much he loves people. Like,
yeah, I love Shaq for that.
All bullshit aside, like Shaq Diesel to stand in third, he loves people. He loves to do right by people, and he's in my opinion, he deserves to be on this list regardless of what number he's at. But he's at all the guys I'm looking at right now. He's number 1 in my book when it comes to doing everything else off the court.
I agree,
Shaq,
man.
He will literally, if he sees you crying outside of a shoe store, he's gonna bring you in that shoe store and buy you a pair of sneakers.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of good stories on Shaq. With how he grew his kids up. Teaching them that not about money, got to earn it. And then he goes out. I've seen one story on Shaq where he was at a car store, and I forget this lady, bad credit, couldn't afford nothing, and he bought him he had 10 kids. He bought her like the big ass 10-seater car. Just bought it for him. Like, it's crazy. And they asked him about it, and he was like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't do it to talk about it. He didn't I don't even know how they found out about it, and his comment was no comment. And I like that because he got all the money in the world, bro. He's a multi-millionaire, and Shaq's unbelievable. He was dominant. When I think about my childhood growing up, one of the people I think about is Shaq. Big Shaq. I think about him breaking how they had to change the backboards because he was breaking them. Like, that's crazy. Think about that. He was breaking them. Like, they had that backboards for 30, 40 years, and he broke them. So they had to do the collapsible ones. Like, that's crazy, bro. Like, I mean, listen, you can talk about his bench presses and that, but that man's strong. Like, that's somebody I wouldn't want to get hit by. Now we're into our top 5, and I'm going to let you take number 5 because I think it's actually your favorite athlete of all time. One of them.
Top 3 favorite athletes of all time for sure for me. I consider him to go to MMA. So, when it comes to MMA, this man is he introduced me to the sport basically. Anderson Silva. Where do we start here with this guy, man? I mean,
if you guys are watching on video, this is what you should remember Silva by. Boom! Best knockout ever. Right there. That shit was on a video game cover. How embarrassing do you think Victor Belfort was that he was on a cover of getting front kicked?
He was roided to the core. That motherfucker right there had all the – say what you want about Spider Silva shit, but that man right there was roided to the core. And Anderson beat this shit. That knockout was so pretty that it was quiet for a second. I was just like, what just happened?
Yeah, one thing about Anderson, I honestly think he could be in the top 3. Hey, if I'm not bullshit, I think it's speculative on if he's the best UFC fighter ever. No problem if you have him there. I like no problem at all, dude. Knocking people out. He was a showman. He did it this and that for long as hell. Best streak, this and that title fights. But on top of that, he can box. Like the guy retired, and he's boxing, and he's winning, and he's dominating, and he's beating former champions. Like the dude
He beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Say what you want about Chavez Jr., but he's a knockout artist. In his day, he was a knockout artist, Junior.
Yeah,
and he's
my thing. Like we talk about MMA, and then we talk about boxing. I personally think Anderson Silva is either number 1 or number 2 of best combat sports fighters ever. Like ever. I'm like one of the Gracies, maybe number 1, or like one of them other guys. There's another guy that had like 282-0 in like jiu-jitsu tournaments and all. Like that guy's pretty damn good. He did karate, he was undefeated. Like he was pretty good. He got some weird names. But Anderson Silva's unbelievable. Like he did all of it. You know, like and he's still out there doing it. Everybody thought he was done. I was going to boxing and make money. This dude's actually going to boxing too. Like he wants to get a title. He's not like the Paul brothers. This guy is actually good, and he wants to win. He fights people that don't throw their fights.
I was just about to bring that up. The Paul brothers are avoiding him. They want no smoke with him at all.
Because he'll fucking knock him out. Like he'll knock him out.
Anderson wouldn't take that clause where he has to take a fall or something, or he's not going to be like, well, I'm not going to fight if it's not a knockout clause. I'm not fighting. That's basically how he was. I'm not fighting.
Yeah, no,
I was thinking for that.
Yeah, I don't think he's on a fight right now yet. He's just fucking. Yeah, he'll get on there soon. He'll probably fight Canelo before the Paul brothers do. Like, I mean, the only thing about it, Silva going forward in boxing, he has to learn how to actually keep his hands up a little bit. Because if he does start fighting these heavy hitters, even though like he's still impossible to hit, bro. He has the best head movement any fighter I've ever seen. Like like I'm not talking about pure block. I'm just talking about his head movement. Like his head movement. Yeah, he got caught once or twice, but bro, it's unbelievable. Like the dude's unreal. You know. Now we're moving on to number 4. So this is your favorite athlete of all time. Then number 4, is he your favorite athlete?
Top 3 for sure. Honestly, he might be number 1. Honestly. He might be number 1. All
right, so we got 2 of your top 3 favorite athletes on here, and I have no disagreement with them. I think the order might be a little bit different because these top 5 are phenomenal, and both of them could easily be moved up. I'm not talking about moving them down. I think either of them could be moved up. Now, this guy, we always talk about him a lot, and, you know, RIP, one of the best basketball players I've ever seen, and I believe, in my own opinion, like his greatness was overlooked while he was alive for myself and most people. I really do believe that. Now that we've been doing the sports group more, I've been looking into what he did. Unbelievable. And this guy honestly might be higher on the list, but half of his career he wasn't bald. Yeah, and I actually asked my brother about this. I'm like, yo, how do you remember this guy? He goes, with hair. What do you mean? I was like, he's bald. What do you mean? So if you guys don't know what we're talking about the Mamba, Kobe Bryant, at number 4. You can talk all you want about him because I know you love this guy, rightfully so, man. Great player, great athlete.
He's arguably a top 3 player of all time. Some might have him at number 1. I think he was more skilled than Jordan. And I'm never, even though I lost my debate, I took my L, but I think Kobe was a more skilled player than Jordan, more willing to take the shot, better shooter, great defender. 10 all defenses in his career, 5-time champ, been MVP in them. And he should have some MVPs. He should, but coulda, shoulda, woulda. I mean, he still. I can't say enough about Kobe, man. My mentality. I mean, I'm looking at his jersey.
I never fully understood the Mamba mentality until like I started reading his books, started reading his trainer's books, and like Michael Jordan, like you said, like he had that instinct too. But like Kobe was just like, I'm reading about him. He was just like, I don't know, he was different. Like he was more like me. Like I relate to Kobe because I'm not the best at everything I do, but I'll damn sure put the work in to make sure I am. And I don't care. Like it's not about me versus you. It's about me versus me over here. And Kobe, if Kobe found out one game where he would miss a shot, he'd go to the gym for 6 hours until he made an hour straight of these shots. Like, any expertise, every single motion of what went into that shot or what went into that pass, whatever. You know, when he got older, he got bad knees. He worked on how he could land differently, how he could stand differently in timeouts, this and that. Like, and that's different. And people don't think about that when they think about athletes. They just think about what they do. But the way that Kobe prepared sets him so much higher on my board than a lot of these athletes. It's something we'll be lucky to see it.
Yeah. He studied a shark hunting a seal to stop Allen Iverson. Do you understand? Like, he didn't look at AI's game. He took AI's game as a slick guy like a seal, and he's the killer. He's the killer shark. He's the great white. That tells you how much of a fanatic he was for like being competitive, like stopping you. Like I said, everybody knows how I feel about Kobe, so I can't. I don't think I need to.
The one thing I do love about Kobe is I always thought it was crazy. They said he used to listen to Halloween theme songs, like the Halloween Michael Myers before the games. So yeah, I remember I read it in the book. Yeah, I read it in the book. And I started doing it before I went to the gym. And dude, my workouts were better. Like, I was like, this dude's crazy, but like, it works. Like, you listen to that on your way to the gym, you're walking in, you're gonna fuck some shit up. Like, you don't care about anything else or what anybody says. Like, you're there to dominate. And like, it's weird. Like, it worked though. Like, I'm telling you guys, like, you used to listen to Halloween, the theme song for Halloween, on the replay before the games for like an hour. And then he wouldn't talk to anybody. He would just play in his headphones, and like, it works. Like, it works. I mean, can't say anything else better about Kobe. But number 3 we got on the list. Number 3, we got a guy who also wasn't bald his whole career, but we all remember him as being bald.
We can say,
yeah, I honestly don't remember him having hair much. I guess I was probably maybe I was too young, or I didn't watch this boxing enough. But we're talking about arguably in Stoop Life, you got number 2. But the number 2 Stoop Life boxer of all time, we're talking about, you know, the man that makes it rain money. Like, he literally makes it rain money. We're talking about Floyd Money Mayweather. Look at that dude. He's just smiling because he just made $100 million for that photo, probably. But yeah, like, one thing that people hate about this guy, they say, oh, he picked the fights. I mean, yeah, to an extent, but he never really. Some of his fighters, man, might have voiced it later in his career, this and that, but that wasn't all on him. You know, they got all of these. He brought the money aspect into this. Like, think about Tyson Fury and Wilder would never even make close to what they made if this man never did what he did in the sport. Never, not even close. You know, you wouldn't be able to get Conor McGregor to do a crossover fight and make $100 million to fight him. Yeah. Like, and he made it entertaining. That's how good he was. Like, Conor was trying to knock him out, and Floyd was like, nah, I'll make it entertaining, though. Like, that's how good he is. Like, Conor's, like, he can go in the UFC and kill people. He's trying to kill Floyd, and Floyd was so good where he had to, like, make it entertaining and actually get hit. And, like, that's how good of an athlete he is. Like, you know this. You've done boxing. You've done this. Boxing is not a sport. It's a game. It's art. And for what these guys do in the ring is artwork. They are athletic as fuck. Like you couldn't put any of the other sports athletes into a ring and let them dominate like they do in this sport. It's just not going to happen. Like, it ain't going to happen. You know, that's how it's just different. That's why it's not a game. Now, how do you feel about Floyd being number 3?
I'm okay with it because he did it his way. 15-0, 27 knockouts. I mean, he made art. He made boxing the art, really. I mean, he was making miss a shoulder roll. He had guys. This next generation being like that. He had guys wanting to use that shoulder roll, use that, and be a counter puncher. Floyd is honestly the best counter puncher I've ever seen. And that goes along with I've studied guys like Pernell Whitaker that are great counterpunchers. I think Floyd is a step ahead of that. He's the best. He's the greatest defense fighter of all time. The knockout thing, I hate when people talk about because that's just 1/3 of a way you can win a fight. And if you're getting on him for not knocking guys out, then you're a casual. If you're getting on him for his style, if you understand boxing, to beat a fighter like Floyd, you have to cut the ring off. So the fighter that he fought, fighters that can't cut the ring off on him and can't land punches, that's their fault. That they didn't train, that they didn't learn how to do that. He's like Da Vinci. He's like, honestly, if I can compare him to a guy, something like that historic, he's Da Vinci. He's a hard code to crack, and he's never been cracked.
Yeah. So you brought up if fighters couldn't corner them in. Now people don't realize that they know what Floyd's going to do. They have a game plan at camp for 4 or 5 months for it. If they can't do it, then that's how good he is. Because I want to bring up a fight that actually he did get cornered in. He got put into the corner, and he still dominated the fight against my man Miguel Cotto. Miguel Cotto cornered him in the ring the entire time. And I remember there was a point in the fight where Miguel Cotto was just throwing bombs at this guy. I don't even know around. He was just throwing them, bro. And like they literally counted the punches Miguel Cotto threw. He threw like 30 to 40 punches and landed none. And he was in the corner. He was in the fucking corner. And Miguel was just throwing. And he's just literally blocking everything. It's like, dude. And I don't know if you guys ever been like punching arms and shit. Like it hurts. It tires you out more than actually throwing. Like your biceps and all get tired.
Because now you don't put your hands up. That's more like fatigue on you.
Do you remember that fight? Like I was like, yo, Miguel Cotto's gonna knock him out, and then I was like, all right, like
listen,
like
he was hitting Miguel Cotto with shots towards the end of that fight between 10 and 11 and 12 that Miguel felt. I know he was like, oh shit, he got power right now. A lot of Floyd fights, like you bring up Miguel Cotto, the first fight that comes to my mind when it comes to Floyd Mayweather is the Arturo Gatti fight. And when I mean he beat I love Arturo. My favorite boxer is Arturo Gatti. So seeing him beat the shit out of Arturo the way he did, he punished him. And it was nasty. And if anybody ever questioned Floyd about tenacity in the ring, knockouts, and power, just go back and watch and see what he did to Arturo Gatti. A guy he fought him in Atlantic City where Arturo Gatti did not lose. He did not lose a fight in Atlantic City all the way up until that point.
I agree.
And Floyd beat the shit out of him. I mean, if you want to go even deeper, go look at what he did to Ricky Hatton. I mean, if you want to go back,
he ended his career.
He ended basically.
Yeah. One thing about boxing and knockouts people don't understand, there's 2 things. Number one, if you're not a heavyweight, you're most likely majority of the time not going to knock someone out. And number 2, if you're not a heavyweight and you're not an elite fighter in that division, you're most likely not going to get knocked out. Because if you look at the guys in the top, like the top, they don't get knocked out. No. So, like, the guys that Floyd fought were the majority in the top. They didn't get knocked out. So, like, people that sit there and question his power, look back at all the people he fought and look up how many times those guys that he beat by decision actually got knocked out. Not that many. It's not that many. So just look that shit up before you start talking, because I don't like Floyd Mayweather. I don't like him, and there's personal reasons, this and that. Awesome fighter, but his numbers and stats and film and the fighter, it speaks for itself. Like if you don't have him in your top 4, at worst number 4. I'll give you number 4 because you got the Sugar Rays and Ali. But if he's not number 4,
you're high.
You don't know anything about boxing or anything about him. Like, he's top 4, hands down. Like, those 4 guys, like, I mean, you can put one other person in there here or there, but, like, he's right there. One of the best fighters of all time. Now we got number 2 coming up. Now, we just had a debate about this guy, and I want to say something about the debate. It's the fact that steroids don't make you great. They might help some of your numbers, but they don't make your talent great. They don't help your swing in baseball. They don't help your longevity in the game. Because believe it or not, steroids and injuries are not related. It's been proven scientifically. It helps with healing, but it doesn't help with you preventing them. Actually, if you get on steroids Most baseball players are on steroids. That's why, like in baseball right now, they actually don't test for HGH because the majority of them are already on them, and they actually want home runs. So this guy, we already know who he is. We got the home run king / asterisk. We got Barry fucking Bonds. Now, like, you guys don't remember. Barry Bonds only remember for steroids and home runs. This guy is a top 10 stolen base guy. Think about that. He stole bases while he was on the steroids. Everybody said, "Oh, he can't run anymore." He won Golden Gloves while he was winning Silver Sluggers.
Yes.
There's only a handful of people that were leading the league in home runs that won fielding and were leading the league with stolen bases. I guarantee no one here can name them because they're back in the 1916s. That's how athletic this guy was, man. Like, I love Barry Bonds. Like, growing up, I didn't like him because it was my brother's favorite player. Believe it or not, I actually was a Griffey guy because I loved the Seattle Mariners. I love them. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Barry Bonds, but his skill speaks for itself. Like, the guy was phenomenal. Like, I don't know what else to say about Barry. The dude was all around just athletic freak.
He's an animal. 12. What do you have? 12 Golden Gloves? 12.
Yeah, 12.
Jeez. Listen, if you go back and watch Pittsburgh Barry and how freak of an athlete he was in the field, you'd be like, damn. Like he had 2 Hall of Fame careers in my opinion. I mean, how can you have this guy in your top 10 when it comes to bald athletes, let alone in your top when it comes to baseball players? The steroid shit, I get it. Everybody did them.
I don't get it. I personally don't get it because, like, we just talked about Anderson Silva who got popped with steroids twice, one before he got hurt and one after. I don't find that relevant. I don't find it relevant because it didn't make him be able to move his head faster and throw a perfect timed head kick. You know, it doesn't. Yeah, it might help you in one way or another, but you know, like people like don't understand steroids enough to judge them. Like they don't realize that, like, if you're a college athlete, you're not allowed to take pre-workout because they consider that a steroid. Like if you take some of the pre-workout I have, it has stuff in it that might elevate your testosterone and actually help your workout. And say you have a steroid test, you might fail. Like, oh, you're on Tranabol or T testosterone. When in reality, it's just your natural hormones growing from stuff that you take. You know, like they don't realize that they don't count that in. Like a lot of people think creatine is a steroid when in essence, all it does is add extra water to your body when your kidneys already produce it. Yeah. So like we can sit here all day and talk about steroids and this and that. I think it's irrelevant, and I did a lot of data on why. And I just think, like you just said, cut out the second part of his career. He's still a top 10 athlete right there. Like he set the home run record being bald though. Like people remember him as Bald Barry. Yeah. You know,
I mean Pittsburgh, like I said, Pittsburgh Barry's in the Hall of Fame.
I will say this. I believe that maybe the only reason he actually ended up bald was because he took steroids. Like he might not have been bald. Like think about it. Like it does. Like there's 2 different correlations. One says you lose your hair when you're on HGH. The other says you lose your hair when your testosterone is lower. So it's like there's no science on either of them. It's just I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe it was bald because he did take steroids. I know some people that had full heads of hair and then went on some juice and now they're bald. And I don't know. I mean, his head did get really big, so maybe like his hairline was a LeBron hairline. It was back by his ears. I don't know. Like, but regardless, like Barry Bonds, the things that he did on the baseball field speak for itself. Like phenomenal. We got him at number 2, and we have met number 2 for a reason because everybody already knows number 1.
I don't even think it's an argument. Who's number 1? Everybody should know who number 1 is, and if you don't, you're not watching enough sports. You didn't grow up watching sports, obviously.
Like this guy's known for being bald. Like he's the epitome of bald greatness.
Exactly.
Like he is. We got the man right here. Look, speaks for itself. We got Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan.
Like he had hair in college, and then second year in the NBA, they cut it off. Yeah, I mean, listen, that motherfucker was like the Rock out there. He was shining up his head every freaking time out. They're like, put lotion on my head. Like, shiny
his head was shiny as shit, though. We do got to acknowledge what you just said. Like, the sweat went this way. He never went that way. He went that way.
I'm telling you,
It was weird.
Like, it was weird. He must have done something because, like, he couldn't have put lotion on his head because, you know, if, like, you put sunscreen, it gets in your eyes, you can't fucking see. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what he did.
It literally looked like the sweat went like this on his head.
You know, his sweat knew he was that great that it ran away. So
It did.
Running
It
away.
did.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
he's the GOAT. He's the greatest basketball player alive. 6-time champ. You know, we could talk about the run the Bulls went on with him. We could talk about the scoring titles, the proficiency of the man. But let's be real, he's an icon. What made Michael, in my opinion, so great, he took the game to another level globally. He did what Larry and Magic did when making the NBA like kind of a bigger sport. He took it international.
Exactly. And that's why most people have the number one as well as his championships. You know, when people do debates about it, and they forget to talk about how important that was. Like, I brought it up in my debates for like the UFC, talking about when I was like saying it, like helping for Khabib or, you know, these other guys. Like, he brought the international players over. Like Giannis, Luka, all them are here because they saw the dream team. They saw like Jordan. They started playing basketball because they saw that. And, you know, that is part of being an athlete, and he was the reason why that happened. It's huge. Like him or hate him, whatever. I'll tell you to read some of his books, though. Because like I said about Kobe, we will never see two guys that have mentalities like these guys. Never. And, like, people think, oh, well, he had the mentality to play basketball. No, they had a mentality. Like, Michael Jordan had the mentality to win at life. Like, it wasn't even about basketball. It was about life. It was about how do I be better every day at everything I do. Basketball is just one of that part, you know? Like, that's what makes him so great. So that's our list right there. We'll go over it again. We got number 10, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Number 9, Albert Pujols. Number 8, Iron Man, Cal Ripken. What the hell is that right there? Huh. Number 7, Jerry Rice.
The GOAT.
Number 6, Shaquille O'Neal.
The Diesel.
Number 5, Anderson Silva.
The Spider.
Number 4, Kobe Bryant.
The Mamba.
And number 3, Floyd Mayweather.
Money.
Number 2, Barry Bonds.
The great one.
And number 1, Michael Jordan. I like that list. I do want to say something before we leave. We forgot to mention him in the honorable mentions. We forgot to mention Kareem. Kareem scored balls for like 2 years of his career. So he doesn't count. Like, I did remember him as bald because I was so young that I remember him now being bald. But the majority of his career, he wasn't bald. Otherwise, he would have been in the top 3. Yeah, he would have been right there. Yeah. But he was another guy. So for those of you, if you're thinking, how the hell did you say Kareem? I just wanted to make sure you guys knew. We completely forgot to mention him because we're talking about current players and stuff like that. But other than that, that list was fun. We'll be back with another list, another top 10. So, guys, be ready for that. We're not going to do top non-bald athletes. That's too many of them.
Too many.
Yeah, it's too many. Like, we'll get ripped apart on that one.
You did forget one person, and I'm shocked.
Who'd I forget?
Your favorite person in the world ever.
Don Jones?
No, the other guy.
Stuart St. Pierre?
Yeah.
He's not bald, though. He has a buzz cut. He got a buzz cut. Yeah, like it's like my hair. Like, I have hair. I just cut it. It's easier. Like, he's not bald. Like, I still grow hair. He still, like, check him. He still has hair.
But look at him.
I mean, he could have been on here, but
it's just so it's a buzz cut.
Anderson Silva was shiny bald. But GSP was like buzz cut. You can still tell he had hair. But he could have been on there. But there's a lot of guys on it that people think about, we forget. It's hard. Like, you can't even look it up on the internet and find enough people. Like, you can't even find them all. Like, every time I was looking something up, I would like search through something. I'd be like, it would pop up my thing. I'd be like, oh shit, I forgot. Like, when I was writing the list down, I was like, how Anderson Silva? we're not thinking about MMA fighters, and then we're like, oh shit, like how the hell did we forget him? Like, yo, we got to put him on there. But I think it's a great list. If you guys are watching in the comments, tell us a top 10 list you would like us to do, because we want to do a list that we can involve you guys in that we think we would like, and we'll do anything. We'll do anything. Right now, we got the top sports movie of all time going on. Got a lot of debates with that one. No one agrees on that shit.
I don't think I've heard a single person agree with it.
No, but yet we had 12 people do the list. We could have had more, but I thought, there were some things on that list that I didn't agree with either, but I can't change it to accommodate me because I'm making it and no one would know. Because I had a couple movies that were on mine that weren't on there, a couple spots that were different. But overall, I think it was fun. So, guys, the top 10, me and Paul just do it. We just get a list and we kind of up with a list that we think is pretty good for both of us. But anytime we do the Stoop bracket list, we put posts up that we want all of you to join in on. Like, it's all for everyone. Like, it's fun. We do polls in the group, and nobody else does that on their sports group. All they do is post pictures, this and that. They don't post polls about brackets and shit like that. So join in on it. It's fun. It's free. So join in. So other than that, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for the support. Keep helping us grow because it's fun to have more people in there, different viewpoints, and see all the arguments. So, Paulie, end it up, brother.
Thank you guys for listening. Come back Thursday because we got what we're known for on here. We got a Stoop debate coming Thursday. We have an MVP, Derrick Rose, versus an MVP, Russell Westbrook. The two guys that are representing them are gonna. I have no doubt they are gonna disappoint. I can't wait. It's been a while since we had a road. Last debate, I think we had what? I forgot who. I think it was Barry Bonds, right? It was Barry Bonds and Ken Griffey.
We got two coming up.
Now we do the one that's representing Russ. He's gonna put on just like the one who represented Ken Griffey. I can guarantee you that. But you guys better tune in. This is what we do best. This is where we have our most fun at. Again, when I say fun, that's all this is, guys. Fun and games. All opinionated. We all love sports, so it's the best way to do it. Debate it up. No arguments. Being respectful about it. So we'll be back, guys. Come back Thursday. Have fun.
All right, y'all. Peace out. Have a good night.